Alright guys, so I'm going to show you the second half of making FK Spine. Here's a character I'm working on right now for an animated short. If I have time, I'll also talk about some little bit of SDK, which is not too hard to do. It's actually super easy. You just got to watch your order of operations. So in this guy here, you'll notice I do have some hips. He does have a gun on the side here. But notice he does have some hips here. Grab the controller. What these hips allow me to do is get a little secondary motion in his movement on the character. I can make it move back and forth just a bit, and it's actually nice to have. Now in some simpler rigs, like with games, you don't necessarily have to have it. You'll also notice that I have a double knee on this guy. I'll hit the W key and lift that up in the air, and you can see a little double knee transform. And the nice thing about that is you get a nice flat knee type of effect on your character, which is a believable kneecap in many aspects here. Let me go and put that back. Alright, so what we'll do is we're going to grab my geometry for the pants here. I'm going to do Control D. Since he's already skinned, you're going to see that it's blocked out. So we're just going to quickly unlock this guy. And this happens all the time when you skin stuff. Maya just prevents you from accidentally grabbing something and moving it in the wrong spot. Let's go and move it over here. And we'll pretend this is all ready to go. We're just going to whore this out so we have some hips here. But you'll notice my hips here on my particular character here are actually, if I grab my spine, I have a parent constraint on them, which you saw us do with the FK spine. Now, you don't have to have that. Matter of fact, I don't recommend it if you need your rig to scale up and down. You can run into some issues. The group method can solve some of that, but you still have to be careful because parent constraints are not true parents. They're actually simulating a child-parent relationship. So what we're going to do here is we got this guy here. Let me actually move him back a little bit. I'll go past my vehicle here. We're going to go farther back here. And I'll go to my 4 views. The F key. There we go. So we got here the pants. And what we're going to do is first we're going to make our hip bones. And we'll just pretend our spine's in here. So from the side view, we'll just make a beginning generic spine here. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. And the reason why you can't see it is because I have it isolated. So I'll just, you can go into show. I'm going to say joints, turn on. There we go. Hit enter to solidify that. Notice I went from the bottom up. Just keep that in mind. So now we're going to do hips. So I'm going to click here once. I do need to make sure he's positioned in the right spot because he may not be, nor with the spine. So we actually go in here and have to move those guys. And notice he went right on my original character, and that's fine. So let's go and move that hip right there. And let's grab that spine that we created. And you'll see he's kind of right on top of the other one that we already have. And we'll grab that. There we go. And move him over. Notice he's not connected to anything. Oh, my bad. Control Z. Grab that arrow, yellow arrow, pesky little guy. There we go. Put it right there. Normally I have a guy already set up, but in this case I do not. So let's check our orientation with each other. Hit the F key. Okay, so we got our bone here. Now again, anytime you want to see your bones inside your object, you want to put X-ray joints. My joints are a little small, so I'm going to go to display. We're going to go to animation. We're going to go to joint size. We're going to bump that up just a little bit so we can see that a little bit more. Makes it easier. Keep in mind that joints in Maya are not treated the same way in 3D Studio Max. So if you export, you have to mess with the scale a little bit. I have an earlier video on that, but I'll leave that out of the equation in this particular case. Move this down a little bit more. So now we have our hip. We're going to make our leg joint. We're going to make another bone here, which will be our hip. And we'll simply just parent them to each other. Let me hit the F key here. So I'll make one more joint here. And if you want, you can simply just click here and then just go off to the side. Let me actually move this over a little bit more. This is my morning voice, everyone. It's like a teenager, Barry White. What's up? Mom, can I have the keys to the car? So I'm going to click right here. I'll just hit enter. And again, you can click and just extend out, but I'm doing this a little bit different because we really don't have all our body parts. So I'll click this guy, shift select this guy, just hit P. There's our beginning of hips. Now the hips need now to be parented to this guy, so we'll select hard parenting mode here, order of operations, select that guy, shift select the top of the root and hit P, and then now our hips are connected. So from here I can grab this guy. First I hit bone. I can select that bone. That tells Maya that I'm continuing where I left off. With that selected, I'm going to go down. Oh, looks like we have a joint taking off into nowhere. We'll fix that real quick. Let's do Control Z real fast. Let's go to my point of origin, so you do have to be careful of that. I'm doing this a little bit weird. Yeah. Let me deselect this guy for a second. And I'll make a joint right there. Oops, Control Z. Do it right here. Let's find out where he's at. He's probably back to the origin. He's pretty close. Let's move over. There we go. So we don't have any weird perspective issues, and that does occur sometimes. And if you're not sure about how you get your bones lined up, just again like I did in class, you can turn on Snap to Grid. That can keep things pretty snapped pretty close together there. Let me see if this guy, where he's located. Yeah, he's far away. Let's move him in. Actually, we'll delete him because we already have what we want. We're selfish like that. Alright, let's go back to this. Hit the F key, spacebar, zoom out, rotate. And again, I could have solved the problem by simply just doing snap to grid. He would have snapped right where his location's at. Alright, so we'll do it again. So I'm going to grab this guy, shift select, old hard parenting here. So you want to grab the child and the father, or parent. I'm going to grab this guy here, and then shift select the spine, hit P. They're all connected. Alright. Now Maya does have a weird thing when it comes to sizing your joints. It's really kind of annoying. It's always had a problem with it. Sometimes you can turn off scale when you build your bone. There's an option for scale compensate, and sometimes it does help, but not really. Alright, so I'm going to go to my joint tool, grab this guy here, then do a flat knee. Notice a little, Maya's having some elephantitis problems. We'll pretend our ankles in this area. I forgot to grab the shoes, but we'll be okay without them. And you do want to make sure there's a bend in your knee. It's just smart. You could go straight, but then you're doing a guessing game, and you don't want that. You want to be in full control. Don't let Maya try to figure out what you're doing. So you want to be very blatant. So I'm going to go here on the ankle, go on the ball, and this ball should be right where the toes bend, and finally the toe right here. And this is for someone that has a shoe, a very large shoe, as you can tell. So, excuse me. So we got that laid in, and it actually came out kind of nice. So what we need to do here is do a little IK. Now remember, when you go to your IK tool by default, it's going to have it on SC. And SC is good for stuff that's not supposed to be organic, very mechanical in nature. You want it to be set to RP, which is rotate plane. That allows your IK to have a twist to it. Now the difference between IK and FK is IK is used for pushing off surfaces and demonstrating an even movement, almost like a tendon, and that allows you to actually have some really accurate animation for interaction. FK is used for conversations. Now, if I'm talking, if I'm animating a character talking to another character, you're going to use FK because we naturally just move, it rotates, it isn't pushing off on anything. But IK is good for picking up objects, for pushing off on surfaces, and that's why those two guys exist in the 3D world. So I'm going to click on this guy, and we want the legs to constantly push off the ground. I'm going to click on the ankle there, and we see that we have IK. Now notice here, like you saw me do just a minute ago, I'm bending the knee, and we get a nice flat knee, and that actually deforms really nicely, which we saw on the character over here. Alright, let me go back to this, hit Control Z. Now we have a RP here, but now to do the group foot, we want to be able to actually make another series of IKs, and those need to be SC, single chain, because there's no bone in between. There's no reason to twist anything. Here there's a reason to twist, and I'll show you why. Because if we go to our IK and we just go to the twist node, you can actually see you get a little extra movement. Like if he was, needs to be a gymnast or a ninja, you can actually have those options for animation, which are ideal. So SE on, I'm going to click on the ankle to the ball. You can also hit the G key to read the last process and get the tool to come up again, hit the ball to the toe. There you go. And make sure they're named. Excuse me, sorry. Asthma. I'll go to grab these guys here. So I'm going to call this one, we'll call this left ankle. Okay. We'll call this ball. I'll do left ball. Okay. And then we'll do left toe. Okay. And it's really important to name these as you go, because they're going to have to be put into a group. You need to group these guys out. And the reason why we're grouping it, so that we can get a nice foot roll on our breakdown. And we're going to make a single group for, we're going to do it real simple here. And I made a video about this a while back, but I'm going to show you how just changing some of the groups around in the order of operations, you can actually get a different kind of deformation. So I'm going to deselect them to make it easier to follow along. I'm going to make a simple group out in the world of nothing. So we'll do a group. He'll show up on my 0 to 0. I'm going to go and move him over here. Let me zoom in a little bit more. With this group, I'm now going to keep my finger on the V key, and I'm going to snap this guy, this group, to a particular region to get the deformation that I want. So let's define that. Now, some of my students in the past get confused. Sean, why is one called IK group and why is one called ball group, and why are they in different positions? Why not call them where they're at? The reason why you don't necessarily do that is because you want to call the group according to what it controls and what it does. This guy we're going to call the IK ankle, and I just put either underscore or just go straight to GRP for group. And to help out, you can actually call it left if you want to. I'll do another underscore there. There we go. And so that's the ankle group, but the ankle group doesn't go to the ankle. We're going to move him to the ball. And then we'll make another one. I'll deselect for a second. And the reason why I'm deselecting is just a little bit easier for people to understand where things go if I do this. So we'll group again. Let's move them over. Zoom in. So we'll call this the left ball group. There we go. Get my finger on the V key and snap him to the ankle. So they go in different places, as you can see. So let's go to our outliner real quick, and you can see what I'm talking about. Show all. Always seems to be turned off, but I gotta fix that. Just correct my settings. So there's my left ankle group, goes to the ball, and left ball group goes to the toe. It's actually that easy. We have our IKs in place. Each one does something different. So what we're going to do now, and this is actually super easy, believe it or not, we're going to grab the ankle IK group and the ball IK group. And what we're going to do is put these guys, put certain things underneath these fellows. In this case, the ball group, I'm going to grab the ankle group, Control, hit the ball group, and I'm going to drag these guys, middle mouse drag them, into the ball group. So there they are in the ball group. Then I'm going to grab the ball group, and I'm going to move him into the ankle group. I'm going to make one more. I'm going to deselect for a second. We need to make one more group. We're going to make the toe group. And the toe group allows us to isolate the toe, and it gets weighted down. It actually works really nice. Let me move this back. And I'm going to move him, and he goes pretty much at the toe. Nothing special. So we'll call him left toe group. And what goes underneath the left toe group is the left toe IK. We'll put him right there underneath that guy. So if we look at our hierarchy, we have IK handle group, we have left ball group, we have left ankle IK, and left ball IK, all underneath the group, and then the group underneath the ball group, and then that ball group's underneath ankle group. It's actually that easy to look at. And then toes by himself. And the reason why toes by himself, so we can get some isolated movement. So let's see what kind of movement we get. So I hit the E key and being a little lazy this morning, not using my hotkeys. You can actually see a little bit of foot roll. See that right there? Pretty cool. And then you also, the ball group, you'll see a little bit of movement there. It's like a little push off. Pretty nice. But you can also make another group for full control if that's what you want. So I can do one more, which is like for lift. So I'll just do edit, group. I can just rename them here. Left foot lift underscore group. And again, you can underscore them or space them any way that you want. I'll just do that for now. Let me go and move him into place. You can see my little police car there. I'm just trying to make him a lot tougher. He looks too much like a Prius right now. It's just not cool enough for me. So go and move this over here. So now with that group, excuse me, set up, if I want, I can put all the groups underneath him so I can get a nice foot pivot as if the character's sneaking around. And if I want, I can also move another group back here. So I can, instead of grabbing the toe group to be able to translate this, I can maybe move the toe group back here to make it rotate instead of translate, which is a little more organic. So this guy, if I wanted, I could put all of these guys underneath him. So I can middle mouse drag. And I'm just showing you different ways to do it. You don't have to do it this way. I want you to follow the outline I gave you. Again, this is for my week 2 beginning rigging. I want you to follow my Word document. Really go slow with it. It is a little bit confusing just because there's a lot of words. There's just a lot of stuff you have to follow along, but it's not unbearable. You can totally get it done. Now with that group selected, look at this. I have this group here, pivots right there at the tip. I can now make my character look like he's tiptoeing or maybe even putting out a cigarette or something. We can actually get that kind of lift going on right there, which is kind of nice. Okay, and you can change that and you can make it look a little bit more where it's isolated by changing the pivot areas. Like say I move that pivot, I'll just give you a demonstration. Say I move the pivot to say, we'll do insert, keep my finger on the V key. Just by moving, again, this is all showing you theory of why groups are here. You can get a different demonstration of things. See that right there? You can actually change the movement of the whole setup just by doing that. Right. Okay, that's about it for the foot group. Let me quickly show you how you can do SDKs. And what we can do is just do a quick controller. Keep my finger on the V key here real quick. Make sure he's right on it. I'll keep my finger on the V key just for a second, then let go. So if you leave your finger on it, your circle will just be as small as that point area. There's my controller. We'll call this foot control. You want to freeze the transforms. Again, you want to call it left or right, but I just got foot control. Modify freeze transforms. Lock down, what you don't want the animator to mess with. What I like to do is just right click. You do want to rotate, but say you don't want them to translate. You don't want to mess with scale either. You can right click on this guy and say lock and hide selected. That will lock those pieces, and I did show it in an earlier video, but I'll show you again. You can lock and hide. They go away, which is phenomenal. With them gone, you can go in here, and to be able to get them to come up, we can go into our channel control, and you can find them where they're at. They'll show you where the lock ones are at. There's the ones we locked. They'll show you keyable. These are the only things that are keyable. These are non-keyable, and anytime you want something, you just click on it and you can move it over. And it might still be locked, so you got to go back to the lock one. And also, you want to grab something and then move it over, and voila, that's pretty much how that's done. And again, it's under Windows General Editors. You'll see channel control right there. So I just locked mine down. All right, so we got that right there. Let's go and make an attribute for it. So let's go to Modify, Add Attribute. We'll call this, we'll just do ball roll. And you can leave it. You don't have to have left or right because it's, you already know you're there on that particular foot. Minimum, I'm going to do, let me see here. -5. Maximum, I'll do 5. And default, I'll do 0. Float is fine. The default should work in this particular scenario. We can go over the advanced stuff later. So float, keyable, yes, all that is good. And hit OK. All right, with that set up, and you can also change the color of that controller if you wanted to, which is actually kind of nice. So if we go to our, let me see here, remember where this guy is at, I always forget. For control, display. There you go. So you go under the general tab, foot control, display, and you want to go to drawing overrides. You can enable, and you can change the color of this guy. So if you wanted to, we can just make it, I always think there's a little thing that comes up, but there isn't. We can just make it a different color. We can say red. It's fine. All right, see, it's red, yay. All right, so we got this here. If you click on it, you'll see now we have our ball roll right there, which is kind of cool. So what we need to do now, and again, remember where your groups are at. We're going to go in here onto animate. We're going to go to set driven key, open up set. The driver is going to be this controller. So we're going to load driver, ball roll. The driven is going to be our, let me see here. IK ankle group. We'll do this as the ball roll. Believe it or not, the ankle controls the ankle as well as the ball, because if we open it up, you'll see ball group is right there. So that's fine. Don't get confused with that. Let's see what's going to rotate. So we see it looks like it's going to rotate on the X because it's a red line. You see red right here in your widget deal that shows you where things go. So we're going to rotate X. Now you always want to do the initial key, which is the default position. You always want to do that because then you have something else to go back to. I'm going to hit key. And then now I'm going to go to my attribute. I'm going to set that. And you'll see a salmon color. You know it's linked there for the rotate for X. I'm going to set this to 5. Hit enter. And then I'm going to grab my group. And I'm going to rotate this guy. Oh, I got to make sure I got the right. I loaded my driver, but I didn't load my driven. Sorry about that. I do that sometimes. We'll go back real quick so you're not confused. So we got our things in there. Load the driver. The driver is the controller. So load driver. Bam. There he is. Driven is our group. And I thought I clicked on driven, but I did not. So let's click on the group and load driven. There, you'll see it change. Yay! That's what we want. When I look down below, I'm like, what? I've been doing this for 16 years. It's really easy to mix those guys up. But again, the driver is the controller because he has an attribute. The driven is the group. So I select the group and load driven. There he is. We want the ball roll to be the numbers that cause this guy to move back and forth. So the numbers that we have on the ball roll. Notice we have a little attribute. We have like 5, 0, and 5. I don't like to do 1 and 2 because then the animator has to punch in 0.12 to get exactly what he wants. I like to keep it 10 or 5. Those are good. And then now the left ankle, we notice that he had to rotate on the X. There we go. So I want to make sure that that group doesn't have any more connections to him. So I'm going to make sure that I went back far enough. Good, good, good. So the salmon color has left the building. We don't have anything connected. Excellent. So when these are loaded, you don't have to worry about selecting anymore because it loaded in the memory here. And they're there to stay. So we have this rotated. We have the rotate selected. We have the attribute selected. It's ready to be keyed. Now we key it. With it keyed, we go to our attribute. Set that to 5 because we keyed it in neutral position. Now we set that to 5. With that set to 5, we go to our ankle group. And I'm going to go ahead and rotate it. And we key that. And you'll see it turn salmon color. And the reason why we did that is that now the animator, if he wants to, he can move, look at that, he can do the ball roll through an attribute. Now, I personally don't like attributes so much. I like to actually have controllers to grab everything. Attributes are okay. They are necessary evils sometimes. And I did one here with a lattice. It'd probably be better if you set that to 10 instead of 5 because it's kind of choppy. Over here I have it set, I have a lattice set up on this guy's arm. I might have shown this in another video, I don't remember. But this lattice works really well so that when my guy bends his arm in, you'll see his vest actually push in a little bit. Even his fleshy arms will push in a little bit. See it kind of push in right there. See that? That's a set-driven key I've set in for the muscle. So it pushes in. But I also have it for, I don't want that, Control C. I also have it so that his vest, see his vest start to push in a little bit? His vest will push in just enough to have believable man boobs. Alright. Cool. So again, I just want to show you real quick, set-driven key. If we review that, I'll load them again so you can actually see what I'm loading. Sorry about the load confusion there. That was just me probably going too fast. We'll go to our animate, set-driven key. The driver is the controller, so we load driver. There's the ball roll. And the driven is the object you want to animate or be able to be moved, and load driven. And then we selected rotate X, and as soon as you select that, the key down here is active. You key the initial neutral position, and then you go to your attribute, punch in the number, and then you grab the object of interest for animation. I grabbed the ankle in this case, and I rotated it. And when I rotated it, I keyed it one more time. And then when you can also go back to your controller, put in -5 to put it like maybe an extreme backwards movement. And then you move, and with -5 set in, then you move your group and rotate them appropriately to where you want them to go. So you just like move them back or whatever. And then you key that with that number set in the controller. All right. That's about it. I'll also give you guys a little document for it. I'll try to attach it to the YouTube. I don't know if I can actually do that. I have to be connected to my web page. I don't have my tutorial web page set up yet. All right. Probably should need to move that knee back. It's a little bit too high right now because I was messing with it. All right. That's about it, guys. Have a good one, and I will see you on the flip side.